Today we're here on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive fighting the blight. We're getting ready to demolish this old abandoned gas station that has been vacant since 2015. As you know, Martin Luther King Jr. Drive has nearly $40 million in streetscapes. We have new sidewalks, we have new lights, we have new art. So we want to make sure that we continue to fight the blight right here at this old abandoned shell gas station that has been vacant since 2015. As my neighbors go back and forth traveling Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, they kept saying, we've got to get it down. We've got to get it down. So I want to thank everyone that played a part, and especially Major Management Company, for coming out and stepping up in this community so that we can rebuild this gas station that will have brand new security cameras. And they have even agreed to hire young people from this very community where I was born and raised.
We're here at Brownsville Village. This is actually a development that's done by Habitat for Humanities. It's a huge development that was an example of taking an area that was supposed to be built out years ago, but something happened during the recession where it didn't happen. Habitat actually came in, purchased this property, and as you can see, this is the beginning of a build out of Habitat homes in collaboration with another nonprofit and a couple of actually market rate companies also. So this is going to be a great development that within the next year will be completely built. It has a green space, 2-story homes, houses that are absolutely gorgeous. We're also talking about actually having homes for officers of the Atlanta Police Department here in this development. So I'm so proud to be out here today with this. Who just left is the Secretary of Housing was here earlier today talking about it and touring it along with Nikema Williams and John Ossoff. So today we're here just actually looking at the housing and the development, and I'm just so proud of it. There's a beautiful green space across the street here also. So just proud of the development in my neighborhood.
The Atlanta City Council approves legislation authorizing COVID-19 pandemic premium pay for City of Atlanta frontline and essential workers through June 30th, 2022. The additional payment amounts to approximately $500 per month applied to an eligible worker's regular wage rate for the hours worked during the qualifying time frame. Eligible forms of work include those that address an identifiable public health harm or negative economic impact caused by the pandemic and involve regular interactions or handling of items that were also handled by others and are associated with heightened risks because of the nature of the work. The Council greenlights a resolution establishing the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center Community Stakeholder Advisory Committee for the purpose of continued community engagement and input in the development of the new public safety training facility to be built on Key Road. The Council says yes to a resolution to appoint members to serve on the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center Community Stakeholder Advisory Committee. The Council votes in favor of an ordinance to formally establish Atlanta's first fully staffed Mayor's Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. The office's purview will include such areas as youth and community engagement, LGBTQ+ affairs, public health, sustainability and resilience, and immigrant affairs. The Council approves an ordinance to establish the Mayor's Office of Violence Reduction. The office would develop plans to decrease violence in Atlanta, manage certain grants, and coordinate strategic plans and programs with impacted communities and community-based organizations. For more recently approved legislation, please visit our website, citycouncil.atlantagA.gov. This has been your Atlanta City Council Legislative Minute.
This is Lake Charlotte. It has been here for years, and the city last year, we advocate to buy 211 acres of forest, tree forest. That is absolutely gorgeous. We've been taking a tour this morning. This is a sneak peek. The city council voted in 2020 to literally buy these 211 acres. We're going to keep it as a nature preserve. This is actually going to be the Lake Charlotte Nature Preserve. And so when we purchased it, we also got funding for 5 years to actually build out the nature preserve. This is in the South River neighborhood on the south side of Atlanta, my district. I am so proud. So today is the first time since we purchased it, and they've been working on it already. The city and the Parks Department has been working with contractors to actually build it out. So today is our first time coming out from a year ago to look at what they've done. And again, this is just beginning. We have 5 years to redevelop all of this land. It goes from one end of the community to the other. I'm so proud to be here with my community residents, Park Pride, the Parks Department, so many different folks who've been involved with this project. And so I'm just proud to be here this morning.
One, two, three.
We're here for the launch finally of the beginning of the complete street for improvements along Dekalb Avenue. This project is very, very important. It falls into the category of promises made being promises kept. There's been a lot of charrettes and community engagement around improvements to this district. It's been fits and starts around implementation and scope. We finally have a scope. We finally have allocation of funding. They've selected the contractor. We are finally getting started. This is an important corridor that connects DeKalb County to Atlanta. It connects to Stone Mountain and some other bikes and trails. So this is a very, very important corridor. This is phase one. We're looking forward to having phase two happen in the near future, but we're excited to finally have a start to a very important project.
Even though it's overcast, this is an incredibly exciting day. Dekalb Ave has been a dangerous street on the east side of Atlanta for a long, long time. And I am super excited that we're breaking ground on phase one today, making this safer for the neighborhoods that touch it on both sides, for folks who ride MARTA or who cycle down on their way to or from downtown. But I want to underscore that this is just phase one, that there is unfinished work that we have here, and it'll be important to pass a new T-SPLOS and a new infrastructure bond next spring so we can do the full project and give our residents what they deserve. It's all part of the larger, honestly, the Vision Zero of making sure that no Atlanta resident is injured or dies on our streets. And today's groundbreaking is a step in making sure that that doesn't happen again on Dekalb Ave.
This is an exciting day to be able to come out here for this groundbreaking where we are breaking ground on the Dekalb Avenue safety improvements. This project has been in the making for quite a while, and I'm glad that the community gave their input in the beginning for us to even come to this place to get this project started. And then throughout the process, they have always advocated and been very patient. But now today, we're ready to get started on this project, and how exciting it's going to be to have people that motorists that are on this road, cyclists, wheelchairs, pedestrians, will be much safer on a better road that services everyone. This project specifically is about safety. A number of the projects are about creating beautification, making sure the roads are smooth. All that's important, but specifically this project is because we had this reversible lane that has been there for so long that individuals have sometimes had head-on collisions because they didn't know if it was supposed to be going east or west at this time of day. And so it's caused crashes that we can avoid by now having this to be a proper shared lane. And so then we also are going to have protected bicycle lanes that wheelchairs, bicycles, scooters, and others can utilize to stay out of the road. So this is about safety, getting people where they're going each day and where they're going in life in a safe way is going to be critical, whether they're riding MARTA or whether they're just taking a trip.
Two, three, toss.
We're here because to celebrate the groundbreaking for the first dog park in District 4, and not only in District 4, but in Southwest Atlanta, and it's right here in the Mosley Park community. So we're very excited to be here today. It's important to have a dog park for the health of the dog, as well as the health of the community. There are a lot of people that they live in inner city, so there may not be enough land, you know, let's say for a large dog, they may not have enough land for a large dog just to run around the backyard or the front yard. And so when you have that dog park, then they can bring the dog to the park and just let them have fun with other dogs. I just really want to thank the Friends of Mosley Park for all of their work over the last 4 or 5 years with their visioning plan and helping us move forward. And Park Pride has just been tremendous in regard to raising monies that have been needed. And the Parks Department, under the guidance of Doug Vaz, has just been tremendous with getting the job done. And Park Design has done a great job with taking the visioning plan and putting it in reality on paper, and then bringing it out here and putting it, making the projects work right here on the ground in this 33-acre space.
All righty. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the Transportation Committee here at Atlanta City Council. We hereby call this meeting to order. I have the pleasure of serving as your chairperson. My name is Andre Dickens, and this meeting is of October 13th is called to order. Please, let's do a roll call of the members here. Mr. Pace.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Andre Dickens.
Present.
Councilmember Antonio Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Amir R. Faroki.
Here.
Councilmember Jennifer N. Ide.
Here.
Councilmember J.P. Matzakite.
Here.
Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet.
Present.
And Councilmember Matt Westmoreland.
Here.
Quorum present, Mr. Chair.
Outstanding to have all committee members present today. Thank you. Now let's do the remote meeting statement.
This Transportation Committee meeting is being conducted remotely as advertised and as in accordance with OCGA Section 50-14-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting by dialing 404-902-5066, conference ID 151945, which was noted on October 8th, 2021, Council's homepage at atlantacitycouncil.atlantaga.gov, the Council's YouTube channel, or the Council's Facebook and Twitter pages via ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council Transportation Committee presentation page. The agenda was published and made available on October 8, 2021 via Atlanta City GA, IQN2.com. In addition, the public was able to submit comments via voicemail at 404-330-6059 between the hours of 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. the day before this meeting. All persons present on the remote council meeting conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers. Additionally, speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Each council member is requested to open your Outlook, email, and minimize the screen. Amendments, substitutes, and informational documents have been distributed to committee members beforehand. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Pace. Now I make a motion to adopt the agenda. Is there a second? Oh, actually, we need to amend. We actually need to. I make a motion to amend the agenda to add a 10-minute presentation. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Second.
Okay. That was Brown for the second. So that motion to amend is up.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda is adopted as amended.
So, Mr. Pace, I just did the amended. Do I need to? I need to go ahead on now and say motion to.
Correct.
Motion to adopt as amended. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
All right, it's been seconded by Brown. Now let's vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. Again, the agenda is adopted as amended.
All right, now I make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Let's vote.
The vote is open. Please vote. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes are approved.
All right, now let's play the public comment. I think we have 10 minutes, right?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I am Brother Anthony Muhammad, a soulful spiritual being having a human experience.
Hello?
No longer still religion. I recognize transportation committee members that transparency, not principles, law of attraction of the elements of nature, or to be transparent. And I'm asking this committee, the transportation members, to hear approved favorably by the city council. Mr. Martin has said that Butler Road should be paved, and the Transportation Commissioner said, well, those are that we would micro-fiber that road. I had talked to the Transportation Committee chairman for several years since 2017. I was told by the Transportation Committee chairman that we would find a way to get it done, but you cannot agitate me. You cannot continue to bother me, or else I would not do it at all. But I asked this question because Butler Road, south of county line, going southwest across Camp Creek Parkway, that is south of the city limits. I talked to my district representative for Fulton County, Carmelita Boone, a councilwoman for the new city Southwood, Mayor Bill Ellis. I've talked for 2 years, asked them to pave Butler Road from Camp Creek to county line. And they did it this past week. But I asked, what happened to what you call Robert Rule, Transportation Chairman? What happened to what you call transparency? Be open and honest to the constituency. Here, Bill Edwards used to be a Fulton County Commissioner. Here is Carmelita Boone, who had a first term. Then you have had several terms, and they passed legislation to pave Butler Road. But you, Transportation Committee Chairman Andre Dixon, have a commercial. Mr. Andre Dixon, you have a commercial, so I want to be married, now I'll be one can solve problems. You can't even solve problems for 3 years ago. I'm not want to be negative to you, brother. I love you. But we need the woman energy today. We need to, again, Mr. Andre Dickinson. You have lied for 3 years that you were going to pave Butler Road, and now Mr. Edward, who...
Hello, my name is Jessica Eastep. I'm a City of Atlanta resident, and I am calling to support the ordinance to open up the street of Peachtree to people that's before your committee. So I strongly support this. I'm really excited to take my kids, on their bikes and be part of the city and have them, feel safe and have them out there, enjoying the street. I'm really, really excited and impressed that this is before the city council. So I think it's going to just make our city so much better, exciting, really fun, like a fun thing to look forward to every Sunday. So I really support this, and I hope that it passes. Thank you for listening to my comments. Goodbye.
Good evening. My name is Kay Savetta, and I am with AARP Georgia. AARP Georgia is in support of the Atlanta Streets Alive legislation and proposed ordinance 21-0775 on the agenda for the Atlanta City Council's Transportation Committee meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. The City of Atlanta is an age-friendly community and a member of the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities. AARP Georgia has supported the Atlanta Streets Alive in years past and definitely supports this new ordinance and legislation that will allow more people of all ages to experience a car-free Peachtree Street every Sunday. This new legislation aligns with our AARP Livable Communities initiative, where we work with elected officials, partners like the Atlanta Bicycle Coalition and others, our volunteers and members, and communities at large to adopt policies that benefit people of all ages, to access more walkable neighborhoods with diverse transportation options, therefore creating a more equitable city through mobility and improving quality of life is what AARP supports. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nellie Iwata. I've been in Atlanta since 2001. I currently reside in Kenmore Park. I'm an Atlanta Bicycle Coalition member and also serve on their governing board. I'm also part of the Transportation Committee of the Canada Park Neighborhood Organization. And I just wanted to show support of the proposed ordinance 21-0-0775. Atlanta Streets Alive and the work of the Atlanta Bicycle Coalition has and continues to benefit Atlanta. And I appreciate that you recognize that and your desire to further ingrain Atlanta Streets Alive in our culture. As someone who prefers to drive as well as possible, I appreciate that permanent bike Atlanta Streets Alive. It helps open our eyes to a world that doesn't have to be dominated by cars and allows us to do so in a safe way. And I just want to thank you for your support, and I hope all Atlantans can benefit from this. Thank you.
Hi, this is Cardin Wyckoff, and I'm in support of Ordinance 21-0-0775 in regards to the closure of Peachtree Street on Sunday from 2 to 6, beginning September 18th, 2022. I live in District 2 under Councilmember Amir Faruqi. Please support this. Thank you. And give the streets back to the people. Thank you very much.
Max Leventhal, 876 Brookridge Drive, Atlanta 30306. I am calling in support of the proposed ordinance 21-0-0775, 21-0-0775. On the Transportation Committee agenda, I believe that Atlanta Streets Alive is attractive to young people in Atlanta, and that a healthy city is attractive to young people because they're the people who come in and increase your tax base by founding careers here in the city. They work hard to make Atlanta a better place, and I think having an opportunity for recreation on a Saturday afternoon, a healthy atmosphere with an open Peachtree Street is a great way that Atlanta can serve its community. Linear parks rock. Thank you. Bye for now.
Greetings, committee members and staff, and special greetings to you citizens and voters of Atlanta monitoring our government in action. Ben Howard, Senior Advocate, Public Policy Analyst. All around the city, in private and in public conversations, can be heard the word transportation. Transportation Committee can be heard at APAB, the Atlanta Planning Advisory Board. But Transportation Committee is not a committee promoted by the NPUR 9. Executive Committee and Zoning Committee are all they choose to control. Transit-oriented developments can be found on the website of the Atlanta Regional Commission, but never on the agenda of the NPUR 9. Conversation about new rail car design can be found on the website of MARTA, the Metropolitan Atlanta Regional Transit Authority, but it won't be a topic of conversation led by the NPUR 9. Transportation, Communications, and Utilities Land Use Designation can be heard at Neighborhood Planning Unit D in Council District 9, but not in Neighborhood Planning Unit R in Council Districts 11 and 12. Why not? If word gets out that the NPUR 9 is allowing transportation discussions at NPUR meetings, attendance just might increase beyond the current fewer than 50 residents, non-residents, presenters, visitors, city officials, and department representatives at NPUR. Could there ever come a day when the NPUR 9 might promote citizen participation at neighborhood planning unit R meetings? Right now, we can only hope for such a day. But democracy has a way of showing up just when you least expect it. Vice Chair Antonita Robinson, Carlos Clare, Ricardo Jacobs, Reneto Scott, Albert White, Allison Hathaway, Cheryl Brown, Agent X, Sherry Williams, and you puppets and supporters of the NCUR9 stranglehold.
That was the last comment, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all of your comments. Now, I am going to I think we can knock out the legislative agenda really quickly because it's only a few items, and then we'll get to the presentation. So let's read that consent agenda item.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I was just notified that the Department of Transportation has a walk-in item that they would like to be discussed today. Would you like to go back and amend the agenda to accept the walk-in?
Yes. Motion to amend the agenda to accept the walk-in from the Department of Transportation. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
It's been seconded by Brown. Let's prepare a vote to amend the agenda.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, now make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
All right, let's prepare a vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda is adopted as amended. And I did email the walk-in item to all members. If you check your emails, you should be able to receive a copy of it.
Okay. All right, let's go to the consent agenda. The ordinances for first reading.
Item number 1, 21-0780, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to ratify FC 8647 with Advanced Data Processing Incorporated for third-party billing and collection services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport on behalf of the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department, and to authorize the mayor or designee to enter into Amendment number 2 to extend the term of the agreement on a month-to-month basis for a period not to exceed 12 months, retroactively effective beginning September 30th, 2021 through September 29th, 2022, on behalf of the Department of Aviation, in an amount not to exceed $200,000 in accordance with Section 2-1163, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances. All contracted work shall be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Okay. We will accept that first read, and if there are no objections. I don't see any, so we'll just accept it. Thank you. Let's go on to second readings.
Sure. Item number 2, 21-0760, an ordinance by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet to allow a sidewalk waiver payment in an amount of X for SD 21-016-1527 Willis Mill Road, Southwest, and for other purposes. And, Mr. Chair, we have a substitute for this item.
Motion to bring forward the substitute. Is there a second?
Second, Overstreet.
Okay. Let's vote on the substitute.
The vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Westmoreland?
I'm a yes. It's not coming up on my screen to be able to vote electronically.
Okay.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought forth.
All right.
And I will read the caption to the substitute. An ordinance to allow a sidewalk waiver payment in the amount of $17,393.13 for the sidewalk application listed at 1527 Willis Mill Road, Southwest, and for other purposes. The substitute also provides the account string and attaches memorandum from the Atlanta Department of Transportation for the waiver application.
I make a motion to approve on substitute. Is there a second?
Second, Overstreet. Yes.
The vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
As is Westmoreland.
Okay.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Mr. Chair,
I have a member that's willing to speak. Ms. Overstreet, would you like to speak?
Yes, I do want to speak because you all know that I think that our substitute, our sidewalk waiver is this whole program needs to be revamped because we can't purchase sidewalks with the amount that they are allowed to waive for. So this is not something that I'm excited about, but the truth is the community actually weighed in on this. Both NPUR and NPUI worked together with this particular legislation to make sure that we did waive this portion because there are no sidewalks there at all. And this actual contractor has agreed to find sidewalks in a different part of the district that we could put sidewalks in somewhere else. But this is all that we could do legally in order for the actual project to proceed. So just so everyone is clear, I still do not like the sidewalk waiver process that we have because the value added, the value unit amount is absolutely incorrect for the city. And we have to look to ATL DOT to correct this because we have sidewalk issues and we can't allow it to continue where we are not receiving the funds needed in order to actually reimburse ourselves for waiving the sidewalks. But I would like for this to proceed because the neighborhood is absolutely supportive of the construction. So thank you.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate you speaking up on that. Thank you, Councilmember Overstreet. All right. Are you ready to go forward? So you said, are there others that want to speak to this, Mr. Pace?
No, sir. If there's no objection, may I take items 3 and 4 together?
Correct. Yes, you can.
Okay. 21-07-64, an ordinance by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, authorizing the mayor or her designee to reinstall the traffic signal at the intersection of Sunset Avenue Northwest and Joseph E. Boone Boulevard Northwest and for other purposes. Item number 4, 21-07-65, an ordinance by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, authorizing the mayor or her designee to reinstall a traffic signal at the intersection of Vine Street Northwest and Joseph E. Boone Boulevard Northwest and for other purposes.
Yes, Mr. Bond, are you on the call?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed.
Well, I'd just like to ask thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the Transportation Committee and those in the listening audience. I'd just like to ask for the committee's support to reinstall these lights. They were taken out when the park was being constructed, and the community has asked that they be reinstalled.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any other speakers to this? If not, we can definitely proceed to a vote. Okay. Seeing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Approve both items. Is there a second?
Westmoreland seconded.
Okay.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
One moment, please, Mr. Chair. is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable.
Okay, let's go on to item 5.
Okay. There's no objection, Mr. Chair. May I take item number 8 with this item?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 5, 21-0768, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone, authorizing the mayor, her designee, to make the intersection of Bakers Ferry Road Southwest and Cornell Boulevard Southwest an all-way stop control intersection, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 8, 21-0772, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir R. Faroqi, authorizing the mayor or her designee to make the intersection of Edgewood Avenue Northeast and Waverly Way Northeast an all-way stop control intersection, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve on both. Is there a second?
Second Overstreet.
Okay.
Vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair. Okay, Mark Brown as a yes.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Item number 6, 21-0769, an ordinance by Councilmembers Andre Dickens and Cleta Winslow, authorizing the mayor or her designee on behalf of the city of Atlanta to abandon a portion of Milton Street Southwest between Parsons Street Southwest and Beckwood Street Southwest, located in land lot 109 of the 14th District of Fulton County, directing the mayor or her designee to execute a quitclaim deed of the abandonment to the Robert W. Woodruff Library of the Atlanta University Center and Morehouse College, waiving section 138-9 and 2-1578 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. And the recommendation is to hold this item pending a public hearing, which will be held at the next Transportation Committee meeting.
All right, I'll make a motion that we hold for the public hearing. Is there a second? Second, Brown. Okay.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held. Item number 7, 21-0770, an ordinance by Councilmember Nalin M. Archibong, authorizing the mayor or her designee to install traffic calming devices on Hutchinson Street Northeast between Hosea L. Williams Drive Northeast and Hardy Street Northeast, to waive certain provisions of section 138-84D of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
All right. I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Westlawn.
Second, Brown.
The vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair. Okay.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 9, 21-0775, an ordinance by Councilmembers Amir R. Faroqi, Andre Dickens, Michael Julian Bond, Jennifer N.I., Natalie M. Archibong, and Matt Westmoreland, launching the next era of Atlanta Streets Alive and authorizing the temporary closure of Peachtree Street between Mitchell Street and 17th Street each Sunday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. beginning on September 18th, 2022, and for other purposes.
All right, I'd like to have Mr. Faroqi speak to this. And he has his hand raised.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Dickens. I want to thank Councilmember Westmoreland for working closely on this and helping draft this legislation, and also Councilmember Dickens, Bond, Archibong for signing on. This is a really exciting paper. I think most of us are pretty excited about the potential here, and setting aside a corridor, the Peachtree Street corridor, really from downtown to midtown. It's our marquee street. It's really our living room for the city, both for residents and for visitors. But every Sunday, almost every Sunday for a year, starting next fall, from 2 to 6, to have it be operated as a Streets Alive venue, meaning vehicular traffic would be prohibited. There's plenty of crossings where it would be permitted as you cross Peachtree Street, but the north-south corridor would be set aside for pedestrians, cyclists. Businesses would be open. This is not a novel idea. It's one that's been successfully implemented around the world. So really great responses from residents and visitors and businesses along corridors. When you set it aside regularly, it just becomes a kind of a regular focal point for the city, and it brings, hopefully will bring our center city to even greater life than it is today. I do want to note that this has been worked with a number of council members. I think we've identified a funding stream for working with the city to do so. I don't know if DOT is on the phone and they can speak a little bit to what the expected cost would be, but everyone who I've talked to has been super excited about this, both residents and who live on the corridor, but also those who live nowhere near. I got an email from a gentleman in Jefferson, Georgia, who said he was super excited to hear about this, and he's going to come into the city on some weekends to enjoy it because he's been able to come to a couple other Streets Alive that we've had. This is the last thing I'll say. Streets Alive was launched by Atlanta Bicycle Coalition in 2010. I happened to be on the board of the organization then, neither here nor there, but they have done a really remarkable job running Streets Alive across the city, east, west, north, south, and it's always been a really lovely day, and I think people come out and feel more connected to each other and to the city. And so I think the thinking is if we do a permanent stretch for a year, we'll see even greater rewards. This does not preclude doing Streets Alive in other parts of the city and other corridors, but having a focal point on the city's primary and marquee street should be something that will be well received and could grow into something very special. So I will move to approve and appreciate everyone's excitement for this and hopefully support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that, sharing the details of that. I think we're being asked to hold this so that the ADOT can further review. So you want to make the motion, Mr. Faruqi?
Yeah, happy to do that. Motion to hold. Looking forward to when we can move forward.
Okay. Anybody else want to second
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, could I add my name to the paper? I think it's an incredible paper. And thank you, Councilmember Faruqi, for moving this forward along with Councilmember Westmoreland. I think this is the future of Atlanta.
Yes, you can. So why don't you make a motion to amend to add your name?
Sure. Motion to amend to add my name.
Okay. And I will second that. So let's prepare to vote to add Antonio Brown to the list of sponsors, and then we'll go to the next motion to hold.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
All right, now we had Mr. Faruqi make your motion to hold again.
Motion to hold.
All right, I'll second it. Let's prepare that vote.
Okay, the vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Brown is a yes.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held. We're now down to resolutions. Item number 10, 21R 4037. A resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute an agreement for RFP C 1210232 A&E Design Services with Atlanta Terminal Leaders, LLC, a joint venture at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport in an initial amount not to exceed $1 million. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers as listed herein and for other purposes. And the recommendation is to hold this item pending completion of the IPRO report.
Okay. Mr. Biadori, you want to speak to this?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Councilmember. I do concur with the recommendation.
Okay. I make a motion to hold. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Okay. Let's prepare to vote.
Chat or she just takes another. The vote is open.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held. Mr. Chair, if there's no objection, may I take items 11 and 12 together?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Item number 11, 21R 4061, a resolution by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study on Elm Street Northwest adjacent to Cook Park to determine available permissible street parking and for other purposes. Item number 12, 21R 4062, a resolution by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study on Peter Street Southwest to determine available street parking for local businesses and their patrons to improve mobility and public safety for the businesses and residents of the area and for other purposes.
All right, Ms. Alexander, can you speak to these items?
Yes, Cotina Alexander, Atlanta Department of Transportation. All of these streets are classified as local roadways, and we will conduct a study to make sure that the street is wide enough and determine if it does meet the criteria to have parking restrictions removed or installed. We will make a determination based on the width and some other factors on which side of the street the sign should be installed or removed from.
Okay. All right. So I'll make a motion to approve both items. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Item number 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. Thank you, Cotina. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Bond.
Item number 13, 21R 4071, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute a renewal agreement for FC 9767 passenger wait time reporting systems with Zovis USA Incorporated at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for a term of 2 years and an amount not to exceed $390,604. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Biadori.
Biadori, Airport General Manager. This is a service contract that provides wait security, wait time for traveling public, and we're recommending exercising our only renewal option for 2 more years.
All right, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Overstreet, second.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Oh, I just wanted to find out. I understand we're renewing this contract. We're exercising our ability to do that for another 2 years. But was there a process where we could potentially see if there were other vendors that we could bring in to fill this contract to create more opportunities for more businesses in Atlanta?
So this, Mr. Chair, BBR, this service contract was competitively procured with an initial 3-year term and with an option for a 2-year renewal option. The system that was installed, including a lot of sensors and all of the checkpoint to include the newly opened Social Security checkpoint, and so the service that they have provided to our customer has been excellent service, and we have not made that determination to go back and bring another vendor in, since we already have the service in place. Now, in another year, we will start soliciting and putting together the scope to resolicit this service once this initial term is expired.
Okay. I just think that, when there's opportunity for us to be able to create, more opportunities for the city business, our small businesses to participate in procuring with our airport, I think we should really evaluate how we can maximize and create more ways for that to happen, especially if we're exercising renewals on contracts that have already been operating in this space for a period of time.
Most certainly, and because of the lead time it took to get this contract up and running, i.e. installing all different sensors and testing all of that, and went into what that we'll refer to as revenue service to provide us data. Nearly a year had elapsed, and that's why we only opt for a short term, which was 3 years in the initial term with a 1-2-year renewal option, and we based the renewal option on their performance instead of just a 5-year term for this contract because of the investment and the recoupment of that investment.
Understood. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, good. Thank you for that exchange. So I think we made a motion yet? I think I made a motion. Is there a second?
I second. Overstreet.
Okay. All right.
The vote is open.
I'm a nay, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 1 nay. This item is favorable.
All right, last item on the regular agenda.
Item number 14, 21R 4072, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise the first renewal option with the American Association for Airport Executives for SPS 119-0443, Transportation Network Company Tracking and Compliance Services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, an amount not to exceed $240,000 to be paid from the account numbers listed herein. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Biodori.
Biodori, similar contract, service contract, technology-based contract that provides us operating data and performance data, and also billing data for the TNC, Uber and Lyft that operates here at the airport, so that we can appropriately invoice them for the service here at the airport.
Okay. I am making a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Overstreet, second.
The vote is open.
I'm a nay, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 1 nay. This item is favorable.
So before we go to the walk-in and the dual referred item, well, actually, it's just one walk-in, right?
It's one walk-in and one held item, Mr. Chair. Our dual referral items are still currently held in Community Development and Human Services Committee pending the next CDP public hearing.
Okay. I have this, the presentation, I wanted to get to it because I gave them a timeline and we've kind of gone a little longer. So I want to knock out this presentation for 10 minutes. And then, because I'm not sure if this calling for the T-Splosh imposition is going to be quick. I know the walk-in will be relatively quick. I'll tell you what.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This is Councilmember Shepherd. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
The paper that's being held is mine because I'm sorry to inconvenience you all, but I'm juggling between two meetings. Is it
okay?
possible?
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's take 31. Let's take the held item, Mr. Pace.
Okay. Item number 31, 21R 3932, a resolution by Councilmembers Joyce M. Shepherd and Andre Dickens requesting the city attorney and the commissioners of the Atlanta Department of Transportation and the Department of Enterprise Asset Management to provide a report to the Atlanta City Council on the abandonment and conveyance of previously abandoned alleys in the city of Atlanta and for other purposes. And there is an amendment in your package for this item, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, first I'm going to make a motion to bring forward the amendment. Is there a second? All right. So the amendment has been seconded by Westmoreland. Let's prepare a vote on the amendment, and then we'll talk from there.
The vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
All right, Ms. Shepherd, you want to speak to this?
Yes, thank you all so much for giving me this opportunity. In my community, and I'm also finding across the city, this has been something that's been out there for quite some time. Alleyways that were built way back in the 50s and the 60s when Atlanta was first built. And we have a huge amount of alleyways. I'm not going to say a huge. That's one of the things I'm asking for is an assessment of where these alleyways are. But way back when, alleyways were actually something that the garbage departments and public works and everybody would come up through the alleyways to pick up trash, do different things. And they were built out during that era. Around the 70s, somewhere in the 70s, there was a decision to abandon City of Atlanta alleyways. And so at one point, they were actually controlled and owned by the City of Atlanta, and they were abandoned. Supposedly, through that abandonment, citizens could actually take those alleyways and incorporate, if you were in an alleyway, if your house is in an alleyway and you were adjacent to another house in the alleyway, you could take control of that property. However, what I found in my district, and I have a series in them as my district, case in point is Deal Avenue. If you all are familiar with Deal Avenue, that's one of the particular areas that's really a problem. Where those alleyways have been there for years. At this point, most of them have not been taken over by residents. in terms of the alleyways. As a matter of fact, most of the people living there have no clue and no idea what those alleyways were supposed to be done. And I don't think that there was ever a process when those alleyways were abandoned in terms of educating residents on that. The other question I have in terms of that, I'm not even sure if we do a survey and analysis of these alleyways, if Fulton County has even did anything in terms of saying these alleyways can now be controlled by certain houses, or a process where citizens knew that they could do that. So over the years, these alleyways have actually just stayed where they are, abandoned, overgrown, a lot of times causing traffic problems, and now homelessness or folks who live in the alleyways, but a lot of them are just abandoned and overgrown. What has happened in Deal Avenue corridor is a case in point. If you go down Deal Avenue, you all know that's a major thoroughfare. And we've now just put in bike lanes on Deal Avenue. And now we have taken one side of the street where people actually on Deal Avenue, they don't have driveways like in a regular community where you can actually drive into a driveway. The majority of the people on Deal Avenue are actually having to park on Deal Avenue. So imagine the fact now that we have Deal Avenue, a major thoroughfare, along with the bike lanes that we put in that I absolutely supported. But now we having people park on one side of the street and not the other. About 3 months ago, a big tractor trailer truck came through there at some time of the night and swapped and actually took out about 4 or 5 cars on the same side of the street. But in all of these situations, all of those houses have alleyways in the back of them on both sides of the street. So there's been a discussion in the neighborhood as to what is the story with the alleyways. Can we open the alleyways back up? I mean, and then I would tell you one of the things I've found in terms of development in this new day and time, in terms of era, is that I was just looking at development in my community just last week, where actually they're building out the subdivision and they're actually putting the entry point to the housing where there's not on-street parking in the front of the houses. They actually put a street, like an alleyway in the back of the house, so the entry point is in the back of the house. I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota this summer, and the same thing is happening where they have alleyways where they look back of people's houses where the city controls them. They have lighting. They have all of the, they paved it. They have lighting. And a part of new urbanism in terms of growth and development, I believe the alleyways can be something that's be conducive to us going back to that concept. What I'm asking in terms of this resolution is for us to, number one, is come to a conclusion on what is happening with alleyways, where are all these alleyways, do an assessment of it, come to a conclusion of, with the city transportation department and the planning department, to begin to look at alleyways again and to see if that's something conducive that we can start using alleyways, in particular in scenarios like Deal Avenue, where I think alleyways would be great if we could control them and the folks would come in from the backside as opposed to parking their cars on the street. But also, if that is not the case, what is the procedure and the process for Fulton County in terms of educating folks on how to control these alleyways? But it's become a blight problem in my community. It's a problem in terms of what we're going to do with them. And as a council member, they continuously ask me, council member, what is going on with the alleyways? Can the city clean them up? And I tell them that the cities have abandoned the alleyways. And so the residents are saying, so, well, what do we do with them? How do we control them? How do we clean them up? And so this resolution, and I've talked to Mr. Dickens about it, is for us to begin to look at this and try to figure out via the planning department in terms of recommendations for alleyways and via the Department of Transportation for us to do an assessment, determine where our alleyways are, and come back with a study and a conclusion as to what you all would recommend. So that is my
Yeah, good. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. This is, we're excited by this and want to definitely do a study on it. And Mr. Faroki actually has his hand up. He wants to speak to this. So, Mr. Faroki, go ahead and ask your question and make your statement.
Yeah, no, happy to support. I mean, I have alleyways galore in my district just because a lot of older neighborhoods have them, as Councilmember Shepherd noted. And I'd be curious once we get into this, and this is not a question for debate now or for legal to weigh in now. I mean, my office's response is like it's not city property. It's because it's been abandoned. It's property of the adjacent property owners. But to Councilmember Shepherd's point, there are certain alleyways that or unintended to by adjacent property owners, it creates challenges and problems, and there's opportunities there. So it's worth exploring what role the city has, if any, in figuring out what to do with property that was once the city's, that is no longer the city's, but has a public impact on how we use our city. So I'm excited to see where this conversation goes. Thank you.
And I just want to add to what Mr. Roker said. One of my questions is, as a part of this process, is should we be considered taking alleyways back in terms of some of these particular areas? So even though I know it's not a city problem defined now, but should that be something that's contemplated? So anyway, but I ask for your support in terms of this resolution.
Okay, good deal. Well, good. So I make a motion that we approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
We've got Westmoreland as a second. Let's prepare to vote. The
vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, good.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended.
Great. And this is
thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ms. Shepard. I know you got another thing to go to. So thank you. So yeah, we will, when the time comes after the report has come back, we'll make sure we have something like a work session or some sort of information that can go out to all of the public, particularly those that have alleyways. We wouldn't want to make a decision without their input, but they need to be aware of what all the possibilities are and the legal side of this, as well as the, of course, transportation side of this. So more to come on this, but I think it's great that we're exploring it. All right. We only have 2 items, which is the presentation and this lighting walk-in from the DOT. I am checking with my presenters to see where they are. So let's go ahead on and do this this presentation. Mr. Pace, are the presenters on the line?
Checking out, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me, Chairman Dixon? This is Chris.
Yeah, I can. Hey, Mr. Bauman.
Great. Well, thank you so much for giving us time to present, and to all the members of the Transportation Committee. We really appreciate the time to present to you this morning. I know we have 10 minutes. My name is Chris Bauman. I work for the Service Employees International Union with our Workers United Southern Region affiliate. And I have Mark Wilkerson, who's also on staff with the union, on the phone with me, along with Charlotte Yvonne Booker and Gregory Kelly, who are airport cleaners. And we've come to you before. This is a presentation about the low wages that airport cleaners have at the Atlanta airport. In conversations that we had with Chairman Dickens, I think he wanted us to give more background to explain that it's a very unique structure that the airport cleaning contracts are made. It's very different than like the food contracts. And so we wanted to give the council more background. Again, we're asking the Transportation Committee and the City Council and the Mayor to help us get our wages for our airport cleaners up to a world-class standard, or at least to the $15 an hour that many airports across the country are going to. So that's our purpose today. Let me, Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Chris.
Okay. Can you hear Mark, Chairman?
Yes, I can hear both of you.
Okay, great. So Mark's going to talk a little bit about the background of our contract and the AETC. Mark?
All right, thanks, Chris. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Mark Wilkerson. I'm the political director here for the Southern Region Workers United, SEIU. We represent the cleaners here at Hospital Jackson since 2009. We are, prior to that, it was a part of another part of SEIU that we employed or represented the workers that were employed at that time by ICS, Contract Services. Later on, ICS was purchased by AirServe, and then later on after that, ABM was awarded the contract, but then ABM
bought out airsoil. So that's how we came about in receiving all the service workers or the cleaners on all the concourses A, B, C, and D. Now, E and F are an international term. Those are non-union. They're represented by CSM. But currently they are non-union. And there are over 400 cleaners that we represent here at the airport, Hartsville-Jackson. At CIU, we represent over 15,000 private sector workers across the South. About 6,000 or over 6,000 here in the metro area, Atlanta area, which are food service workers from Spelman, Clark, Atlanta, Morehouse, Oglethorpe, the major CBUs of black colleges here in Atlanta. Also, we represent the baseball stadium out the Tourist Park, large distribution centers like distribution centers in Marshalls off of Covington Highway in Dekalb, Home Goods and PVH, McDonough and Palmetto. Also industrial laundries like Aramark, Elite, Protols, and even manufacturers. We even represent graduate students at Emory University. FEIU has over 2 million members nationwide, but one of the things that we're mostly proud of is we kicked off the campaign for the Fight for 15. The Fight for 15 has grown throughout all the states and throughout the nation, but it seems to have overstepped Atlanta, especially the workers at the airport, the cleaners at the airport. So we've come to the council several times before. We've met with AATC, the airport, the mayor's office, and city council, and we've been doing that since 2010. We're currently in contract negotiations with ABM, and again, we're reaching a wall, the same wall that we've been dealing with for the last 10 to 15 years. I want you to understand where we're coming from so you can have a clear picture of what's going on at the airport that's owned by the city of Atlanta. These workers are only being paid $8.50 an hour. It's atrocious to have to sit down with these folks and listen to these heartwarming stories that they deal with on a daily basis. So just to kind of see, so you can see what's going on. The ABM cleans all the concourses, A, B, C, D, the bathrooms, and the common area. But the company that the contract is with is ABM, but ABM is contracted under AATC. AATC, and Chris will go into details of this, is powered by Delta. So we've been having a problem trying to get these folks decent wages, paid vacation, sick time, holidays. All this is a continuous vicious circle. One of the bad things is, and I guess, you can look at it two ways here. You can look at it as a moral issue, which it is, but you also can look at it as a good business thing. It's an economic issue also. Whereas, the moral issue is you have institutional racism being committed here and practiced at the Atlanta airport, where, the civil rights movement, Don Lewis, Martin Luther King. This airport was named after an African American, Hartsville-Jackson. But yet we walk through these pearly streets, you can call them, and these folks are our ambassadors to this city. Every major event that happens in this city, they come through this airport. These are the people they see first. But yet we don't take time to listen and try to do something for these folks. The business is that these folks, every person that gets hired there, they have to be badged, have a background check, and drug testing. That's the cost. So just since July, just to give you some numbers, since July of this year, mid-July of this year, up until today, there's been 350 workers hired by ABM for the cleaning service. Right now, today, over half of those workers have either left the airport or gone somewhere else. Now, if I'm making $8.50 an hour and I go into the airport and I go to lunch and they have a sign of a McDonald's or Burger King, they're saying I'm paying $10, $12 an hour. I'm not cleaning tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm flipping burgers. I'm going to, I could go on and go on. I ask that you read through this presentation and listen closely to what we've been doing here, or what we're trying to do for these workers. But I also have two workers on the line right now. I'm going to ask Sister Charlotte to speak on her time here with the cleaners at the Atlanta Airport. Charlotte, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I am Charlotte Yvonne Bryant, and I started out working for ABM back in 2017, so I've been with them for just over 2 years now, just a little bit over 2 years. I started out at Delta headquarters, and ABM lost their contract with Delta headquarters, so a lot of us moved to the airport. So what I'm doing now is helping to clean the airport bathroom. And we come in contact with close contact with a lot of the airport travelers, those who travel through the airport. We come in very close contact with them during this pandemic. And, we're not getting paid enough livable wages to go through all this. As Mark was speaking of, a lot of employees that they hire, they don't stay because of the pay that they receive. And we just can't live off of the pay that we get. We need at least $15 an hour, and that's what we are asking for.
Great. Thank you. And just to wrap up, Chairman Dickens, because I know we're coming up to the time, I did want to point out our slide that you have in your presentation that really shows the structure of how this is set up with the Atlanta mayor and city council, has lease agreements with the airlines, and the airlines, set up the AATC, the Atlanta Airline Terminal Corporation, in 1979. It's been doing this work. But Delta is the major shareholder, and they drive the contracts with ABM and CSM, which the airport cleaners work. And the slide that shows that our starting pay for airport cleaners is $8.50. You compare that to Charlotte, it's $10.25, Houston $12, on up to $19 in New York. We have about 10 airports that you can see that we're way behind. And we say we're a world-class airport, but we pay poverty wages. And we think these structures most of the workers are African American women, and I think to Charlotte, I know we're running out of time. Greg won't have a chance to testify, but we've been to you before, and we're pleading for the city council to help us. Delta just announced that they got $1 billion in profits in the third quarter, but yet the AATC is driving the labor pay grade at $8.50. And at the end of the pandemic, you have these pictures in your presentation that the cleaners got a gift certificate, and you see up to $10 gift cards to use at the airport. And we think they deserve a lot more than that. They got us through this pandemic, kept the airport clean, and we think they deserve $15 an hour, or at least a pathway to get there. So thank you for giving us this time. I don't know if there's any questions, Chairman Dickens, and thank you, Charlotte, for giving your story, and to Mark. And we'll open it. I'll turn it back over to you, Chairman Dickens, if there's any questions. Thanks.
Well, I respect that you brought one other person with you. I know you're trying to be very cautious of the time. I'd be happy to hear that other individual for another 2 minutes.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Mr. Kelly? Greg?
Yes. Peace. Good morning to everyone. As they stated, President Mark, the wages that we have before the pandemic were shameful. That everything is going up. Gas, food, health care, child care, where you can get it, insurance, and don't take a trip to the pharmacy. So the money that we're making is simply not enough. And as Mark was saying, we do represent Atlanta because we are some of the first people that visit the seats, and we do a good job. And as Charlotte said, we have worked through the entire pandemic, and we haven't got a bonus, we haven't got hazard pay, and we can't get a raise. And it just doesn't make sense. So we're asking the council to assist us in getting us $15 an hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kelly, for sharing that, and Mr. Barman, you guys, thank you for coming and asking me to speak. And when we met, we talked about it.
We shared your presentation with all of the council members in the Transportation Committee. We'll share this presentation with all the council members that aren't on this committee, because we only have 7, but there's 8 others plus the council president. We'll share this with the airport general manager, who is watching right now. And it is good that you explain how this all works, because, of course, I'm aware of it, but everybody in the public isn't aware of it, because the city council makes a lease agreement with the airlines, and then the airlines has a company called AATC, which handles the concourse cleaning, and that they make a deal with ABM or CSM or whoever. They strike a deal, and then that deal has a certain wage that's fixed in it, which is really not good. I'll be honest with you. I've never been a supporter of that. And so here's some of the thoughts that I have. One is that the council and the mayor and all of us have to apply more pressure. You know, we are in the state of Georgia that does not allow the city to set a minimum wage, but I was able to do so for our city employees. I got our city employees up to $15 an hour, actually working with SEIU, Unite Here, Fight for 15, and these other groups. So the city employees were able to do that, but still not our contractors, because the state of Georgia says no jurisdiction can directly or indirectly set a minimum wage. So the state of Georgia's minimum wage is the only minimum wage for private businesses. But I still think that we have strength in our ability to work through contract negotiation. And what I mean by that is, so the state of Georgia does not allow you to indirectly set it. So one thing that I wanted to do, I explored this, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, was to try to make extra points in the RFP that says if you pay, a certain amount, you get extra credit. So, of course, in the RFP package, people are saying what their concept is, what they're going to do, what their experience is, what their bonding is, how they're going to, what their overall price is. And I would give extra points or some sort of mathematical consideration to if you're paying, if you're paying $15 an hour, or if you're paying $13 an hour, some escalating scale. I was quickly smacked down and told that you are breaking state law when you do that, because you are indirectly setting a minimum wage. So, so we have to work on our state legislators for that and really push them to allow us to at least indirectly, if not completely, control our destiny as it relates to minimum wage. But another piece of pressure that we can apply as a council and the mayor is in our contract negotiation with Delta and AATC. I think that we need to be vocal about it and just let them know that in the city of Atlanta, making $8 an hour after having to drive or catch MARTA that goes into the airport, you got to walk 20 minutes, get badged in. Who does that and then have to work a full shift and then go back? It's very taxing and costly. So we want to be able to have our airport workers able to make a wage that, can take care of those things, and also to have benefits as a requirement. We're a world-class airport, and we need to not have, like you said, poverty wages. So, council members, I think that we need to really begin a process of holding people's feet to the fire. And some of these great companies that we have are taking care of their employees with billions of dollars of profits and profit sharing and bonuses, and yet the ambassadors to our city, such as these cleaners, aren't able to do the same or get the same. So I'll hear from other speakers at this time. Antonio Brown raised his hand in a text, and then next is JP Mazakite. Mr. Brown?
Yep. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I'm so sorry, I didn't get your name. My apologies. The gentleman who was leading the conversation.
Chris Bauman.
I'm sorry?
Chris Bauman, Bauman.
Okay, thank you. So, Chris, I wanted to hear from you. What barriers do you see with moving this forward outside of the state limitations with local municipalities being able to set minimum wage?
I think the bully pulpit that the mayor and the city council have is we got to call on Delta and the other. I mean, it's all the airlines, but Delta is the major shareholder, a majority shareholder in the AATC. And we got to say, look, the city's doing this. I don't know any company really right now in the city of Atlanta that's paying $8.50 to do anything. And I think even though you might not be able to mandate it because of the preemption laws, I think we got to say, Delta, do what's right? Taxpayers bailed them out and the other airlines during COVID to help them get through. And then again, the AJC just announced that they have $1 billion in profit in the third quarter. And why can't some of this money go to at least get our, if not to $15 an hour, get a pathway like other airports? And again, you see examples of other airports in this presentation that are doing that. And these airlines are all flying into these same airports. And we think just these complicated systems really block, at least in Atlanta, African American workers from getting the wages that the other cities have. So at least I think we've got to meet with Delta. I would call the head of the AATC. I think he should come and talk to your committee and answer, and even Delta to answer why these wages are so low. I mean, they can definitely do that, even though we can't mandate them because of the preemption laws. So those are just some of my thoughts.
How many employees are impacted by these unfortunate wage conditions?
Well, right now, I mean, it used to be up to over 600, and I know they're having a hard time hiring people, but right now on our employee list, we have, I think it's about 440, but I know they're trying to hire more people. I don't know how many people work for CSM that do, the ENF and the international terminal. I would guess maybe 100 to 200, but that's just a guess. I don't have that number. But probably less than 1,000.
Okay, and what is the lowest wage you've seen these employees receive? Is it all at around $8, or is it less than that?
Well, I know in our union contract, the starting pay for a cleaner, if you go work on first shift, is $8.50, right? You work during the day. Now, there's some premium pay, but not a lot, if you work third shift. But yeah, starting pay is $8.50.
Okay. I'm Mr. Chair, I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, I wonder if there's a possibility. I mean, I don't think that's that many folks in which the city couldn't step in, and because we're limited by state law, create a livable wage fund to offset the deficit and meeting the $15 minimum wage requirement that Chris and his team was speaking to us about that they're seeking. I think that's something worth to consider. I mean, if you do the math, I mean, I think it would be well worth it to ensure that the workforce in the airport is able to live in sustainable ways and create an environment of success for themselves. So I'm just throwing that out there. And then my last thought is, Chris, I know this is not the popular thing to say, but if these conditions are this unbearable and nothing is being done, and you're being limited by the state and the local municipality being able to, set minimum wages, why don't you strike? Why don't you guys strike?
Well, I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, if we could let our contract, we're under negotiations now. I mean, look, our union, if we have to disrupt the airport, we will, right? I mean, civil rights is, as our beloved John Lewis said, sometimes you have to make good trouble. And for 10 years, we've politely come to the committees. We've met with all these groups that you see. We've met with the AATC. We've met with the Department of Aviation. We've met with different mayors. But we're not going to wait in the shadows any longer. And so that all those things are possibilities that we can look at, especially as we move into the holiday season.
Yeah, let me do, this will be the last thing, Mr. Chair, and I'll turn it back over to my colleagues. this is an extremely unfortunate circumstance that our city is in. I mean, I've spoken to some of the employees at the airport, and, I remember when Councilmember Dickens and I was working to matriculate the unsheltered population out of the airport into hotels, and the risk that it posed on these employees in the airport that were doing a lot of the jobs in which you spoke about. And, many told me that they couldn't even keep their utilities on in their home because of, the unfortunate wage conditions at the airport. So, I'm in full support of this. And we don't want to disrupt the airport, and we want to ensure that, our city can move forward, and the airport is an important part of being able to do that. But human lives are just as important. So I'm in full support of whatever decision you all decide to make.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And let's go to Mr. Mazzicai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for this presentation, Chris. I learned a lot, so appreciate you coming in. Sharon, a couple of questions. Do you know what Delta pays their cleaning crew? And then second part of that question is, I hadn't realized that there was a difference in the contracts or how workers were organized based on the concourse they were in. I think you said the international concourses were different than the other concourses for the domestic planes. Is there a difference in pay in the cleaning crews between those concourses? So just those two questions. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, so the two contracts, it's very much like the food contracts, right? That you have different companies that provide food service at the Atlanta airport, or different retail services where you have multiple contracts. So a similar case here, where you have two companies providing the services to the studio. And again, our union represents the ABM workers, and then the CSM workers are a non-union company. They're not represented by a union. I'm not sure. I mean, you probably should check with Delta directly about what they pay. I mean, I've heard rumors that they pay the $15, but I can't document that. Now, certainly, they fly into all these different airports, right? And I'm sure they have similar lease agreements where they were required to pay these rates in other places. And so, we could definitely get that information. I was, even though we don't represent the CSM cleaners, I would suspect that they get paid about the same that ABM do.
Yeah, I think those are important pieces of information for us to understand as we have this conversation. We are talking about workers in Atlanta. So, really workers in other cities would be a different labor market. And so the real comparison would be what other workers doing the same work in Atlanta make. And so obviously Delta is going to have cleaning crews cleaning their headquarters in Atlanta. And so that's a real good comparison would be what they pay their cleaning crews at headquarters. And again, knowing what the cleaning crews make at the different concourses would be interesting. If you could provide this committee those two pieces of information and follow back up, that would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Yes, I would be happy to. And I can speak to the labor market in Atlanta. As Mark talked about earlier, we represent a lot of industries, and everybody is struggling to hire people, and companies are raising pay left and right to make ends meet. So I know it's a very competitive labor market, but we will get that information and get that back to the committee. We'll try to do that soon. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, you read in the newspaper how the increase in prices of raw materials and wages is flowing through and increasing prices of goods and whatnot. So I think everybody is feeling the increase of inflation right now, where we haven't in the last few years. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, all right, good. Somebody else want to speak?
Mr. Chair, this is Mark. I just want to add something to what Chris was saying. We do have some information right now. Currently, as you know, Delta has the Priority Club suites in the airport. those particular suites, they contract those out to a different cleaning crew. Those cleaning crews there, Delta pays those folks. I think the starting wage there is $12 an hour to start out in those particular suites. The other thing, too, that I want you also to keep in mind is that a lot of folks there that work at the airport, they work in multiple locations. So they may work for ABM on first shift, but then they'll work for another company there in the hotel, in the airport for second shift or third shift. And some of the reasons behind that is that some of these people are actually homeless. So they stay at the airport in order to and do both these jobs in order to have somewhere to work and stay. So that's something that's been happening also. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I'll just say this, colleagues, and and we're complete with the presentation. I've actually spoken to leadership at the two companies, and the companies wouldn't mind paying more. They actually think that a worker that makes more money is going to be more reliable because they can handle certain fluctuations in life. Being sick doesn't mean you everything disrupts because you can't get paid and all these other stuff. So they when I talk to the ownership of ABM, CSM, these guys, they say we would love to be able to pay $12. We'll get a more stable worker. We'll get a worker that can balance out certain things. They won't have to work two shifts, or at least we'd even make $15 an hour if the contract allows us to. But these contracts are written in a way that they're fixed. And so if you wanted to pay more, you don't get more at the top end. You don't get any fluctuations in ability to receive more revenue from AATC. So there's a lot more to dig into, guys, and we can start doing that. But now that I know there's a tremendous amount of interest on council, then we can start having those conversations with AATC, and which represents the airline. So let's move on from here to the next item. But I will be talking back with you guys. Thank you for your presentation today, and continue to do the good work that you do on behalf of Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Thank you. All right, let's move on to our last item, which is the walk-in legislation. This is a walk-in item that came in today through the Atlanta Department of Transportation, and it's going to be involving Georgia Power. Mr. Pace?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. A resolution by a Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute a lighting solution partnership agreement with Georgia Power Company on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for a term of 1 year with 5 one-year renewal options, an amount not to exceed $2 million and 0 cents. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
All right. Who from DOT is going to speak? Is it Mr. Rowan or someone else?
Mr. Chairman, this is Josh Rowan. I'll take this one.
Okay.
So this is just basically the business side of Mayor Bottom's One Atlanta Light Up the Night program that we've been talking about through the summer. A portion of this will take the city's, roughly speaking, 10,000 lights, and will sell those to Georgia Power. We came before council about 90 days ago to approve the engineering. That's ongoing, so there's an assessment of the lights we own to determine what remedial work needs to take place, but the goal is to sell those to Georgia Power, and then to take those proceeds and roll them forward into the additional lights that will be installed on a lease basis from Georgia Power. And you've received quite a bit of information from Deputy Commissioner Nagy and the group from Georgia Tech. So this basically authorizes the signing of the agreements to make those things happen once the engineering is completed, and we expect the engineering to be done end of this year.
All right.
So we strongly recommend approval.
I think we all do too. This is to help us light up our city and to simplify what our street lighting plan is. As you know, council members, we've had street lights owned by the city and by Georgia Power, and it's quite confusing to the citizenship. Now we have one set of ownership, managed, lease agreement, and operation. So, and we'll get 10,000 more lights, which is desperately needed for our public safety and for our high injury network of crashes. So I recommend approval. I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Overstreet, second.
Okay.
The vote is open.
I'm a yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you.
One.
Ida is a yes. I'm having a little technical issue.
The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right. Had I known it would be that easy, I would have taken it earlier. Sorry, Mr. Rowan. But you learned a lot about the airport.
Yes, sir. No problem.
All right. Does that conclude everything, Mr. Pace?
Yes, sir. That concludes our legislative items for today.
All right, everybody. Thank you. That concludes our Transportation Committee. Unless anybody has any other pieces to input. Seeing none. All right. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Great meeting, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks.